So let's start today's UX talk. So it is season 3, and so we have a very good speaker today we have. So I will introduce him, and so I will hand over quickly to him to start today's UX talk. Uh, Thanks. First of all, thanks everyone for joining this today's session. Uh, Hopefully today's topic you will find very interesting and just request to mute. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, my name is Tushar Deshmukh. I am founder and CEO of a UX expert and UX UI training lab. So this is UX Talk, the forum platform which we started last year. So idea behind this UX Talk to bring the leaders in the industry to on one platform, and we can discuss on various topics about UX design field, so that the people who are either learning UX or either entering into design field will get insight about this field. And when you listen from industry leaders, so that is again a very interesting experience, and you can learn from these stories. As I always believe, everyone's journey, everyone's story is inspirational, and that is the idea behind UX Talk. So last when the COVID was started, we started this activity. So far we have a season 1, season 2, and now we are entered into a season 3. So this is the second talk in this series. I hope this series also will have a very interesting speakers, and we can explore more about designing field, UX field. So without wasting time, just I will first introduce our today's speaker. So today we have Alipta with us. He's actually, this is his second UX talk. We already have one very interesting topic we discussed earlier, I think in season 1, about disabilities and everything. So Alipta is very senior, experienced person. He is mentoring uh, many young kids, and he associates with a lot of many institutes also. So he's based in Bangalore, and he's working in a Sun corporation where it is a health sector related. They work in health sector and other. So Alipta is very passionate about UX. Recently, he started one activity, I will say, as a design shorts. So hopefully, end of the session, Alipta, you can just share about what is design shorts and everything. Uh, so let's start. I think I will now hand over to you, Alipta. And before we start, we can just quickly, you can give a little bit about you, how we, what you do, and so small, quick journey so that our speaker will understand it. And definitely then we can move on our core topic today's, that is navigating UX or design career. So this topic is very interesting. Nowadays, many people are coming into UX as they are taking as a UX career. Designers, non-designers, they are also looking as a UX as a career path. So I think what we today will discuss is definitely will give a very great insight for who's want to adopt this career. So without wasting time, Alipta, you can start with, and welcome once again.
Thank you, Tushar. Am I audible loud and clear?
Yes, I know.
Good. Okay, so guys, let me share my screen quickly. I'll have my introduction session a little late while I go through the slides. Can you see the screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, great. So good day, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining on a Saturday. Definitely, I know people would love to go out, because now the COVID situation is over, I would say. And I know the weather, those are in Bangalore, the weather is dull outside. Probably hot coffee might make you feel a little better. And yeah, again, Tushar, thanks for inviting me again for this second round of talk in this forum. I'm very thankful to Tushar on that. And I welcome everyone to be a part of this. Great. Okay, so let's get started, man. So our life is the most interesting design problem. I know many people would agree to this, right? So are you happy with what and what are the things you are doing in your life? Are you doing the work you thought you'd be doing? Or do you think living the life you hoped you're actually doing that same thing? Or do you think the plans what you have set for yourself actually is not working out well? I know people might a lot about it. So Designing for Life is a book written by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. So this book can definitely give you some guidance about how you can design your life in a better way, right? Now, what it means to design your life, it's all about exploring various options, right? And try to fit in what probably works best for you, right? So imagine you have a college degree, you have a good job, you work for a top company, you also probably had a good marriage, but still you are unhappy. Why you are unhappy? I mean, there could be multiple reasons, and I would say it's you, the individual, you have to find out the reason. So you have to look for different paths which can really give you a very meaningful and happy life, isn't it? So I think experiencing those paths is all about this book. And this book talks about how you can prototype your life, try out different things, and make your life a very meaningful in terms of your job, what you're doing, or in terms of, let's say, you want to be a good father, a good a good husband, a good co-worker, a good friend, and so that's about it. The book talks about. So in this book, Burnett and Evans also provide a method for evaluating how things are going in your life, right? And which parts of your life are doing well, your health, your work, your love life, and identify what aspects of your life might need a bit more attention, right? Or where the attention is completely missing. So they also talk about life has a lot of problems, and there is something called as gravity problems. Those problems can never be solved. So let's say you want to play basketball, but to play that you have to be tall, right? So, but you're not. So rather than wishing that I wish I could have been taller, you could still enjoy basketball training by volunteering as a coach for your kids team, right? Isn't it? So there are multiple ways, the multiple channels you can actually get into things which will probably make things meaningful for you. So I'd say rather than being unhappy that I will never be able to work for a dream company, you could also work for a different company and to make your life happy. Anyway, so lot of gyan on this. So let's start with the classic question. I think all kids might have faced this while they're young, right? So it's a question that you're constantly asking your kids, and you're expecting an answer for that. So I keep asking my daughter the same thing, and the response keep changing every alternate week. So sometimes it's like, I want to be a chef, I want to be a fashion designer, and sometimes I want to be a community helper. And sometimes it's like, I want to be a police. So I think it's all about planning your life, setting up a goal for yourself and work towards that. And again, designing for life actually is the most popular Stanford elective class, and it has been tried and tested by different people across the globe. And they also have online workshops in case you want to try out. So I'll leave you some food for thought here, and I'd say you can start planning your the so-called journey called life, isn't it? Great. So this is me, my 4 different stages of life. I kept learning and growing as a painter, designer, artist in these four different stages. I really someday I might write a biography of myself, and this can be the good title, The Life of a Designer. So a bit about myself. I started my design career back in '98 while I was studying design, and I started my career at that point of time when there used to be popular job titles like web designer, graphic designer, web developer. So those are the popular titles we used to have. And I hope to multiple companies across the globe. I had opportunity to wear multiple hats and work for several Fortune 500 clients. Currently, in my career, I head a design team at Suner Healthcare Bangalore. Suner is a health tech company based out of Kansas City, US, and our aim is to transform healthcare through design. And I manage a team of 21 awesome designers at the Bangalore studio. So that's a brief about me. And I would jump to the topic for today, navigating your design career. So you all know, right? UX professionals are in global demand, right? UX design is one of the top 5 in-demand skills according to a LinkedIn report, which recently got published. InVision's product design hiring report says that UX designers are in huge demand. The report reveals that 70% of people managers increased the headcount of the design team in the past year. And the most interesting facts are UX professionals are highly paid, and these knowledge is really transferable and requires some specialist skills, right? And I would say UX is also a very meaningful career. You're solving a lot of design problems, right? Or rather, you're solving problems to design, right? I think over the past year, I have seen a lot of people from different industries actually are willing to get into this domain, and they're looking for a career in UX. Now, getting into a career is one thing, and growing your career is another thing, right? So how do you navigate through this career? So I would say once a designer steps into the design profession, they lose sight of what they want to do next, right? What smart move will help them advance their career? Which design course or certification might be able to provide them a solid foothold in the design industry? And they're surrounded by multiple questions, and they have multiple options also at the same time, right? So today my topic of discussion would be around this, how to navigate this journey. And one thing definitely I'm going to tell you, I'm going to provide few tips to advance your career definitely, but I want this session to be very interactive. So in case you have any questions, please ask, or I may periodically check in between, like if you have any question, I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. So I think Tushar will help me definitely. In case you find any question, he'll definitely let me know. Okay, cool.
Please, you can use chat box. So even if you have a question, just put in a chat box.
Sure. Thanks, Tushar. Definitely. So I have a very short presentation for today. I want to spend most of the time chatting with you guys to understand where you stand in your career, how, what are the different ways you can navigate your journey, and how I can definitely guide you in this entire process. Great. So the first important tip is decide first. Okay. There's something called a deep generalist. A deep generalist is a person who probably knows a lot of things. He's a jack of all trades, but he's definitely not a master of none. He has not mastered in his skill, but he knows a lot of things. He knows bits and pieces of research. He or she knows design strategy, interaction design, the nuances of human-computer interaction, information architecture, accessibility, tools, process, and a hell lot of things, right? So that's a deep design generalist. So it's like, when I was attending my design college, design education back in 1996. So the first 2 years was all about learning clay modeling, batik printing, oil painting, watercolor, sketching, and charcoal drawing and multiple other things, right? But then I slowly got into something very specific. So that's it. That's about being a specialist, right? So that's the vertical line. So when you start to focus on becoming a specialist, you focus on a very specific area in design, right? Let's say you want to be a researcher, right? What are the different research techniques, right? You could probably want to be a quantitative researcher, where you might need knowledge about statistics, data, how to analyze data, interpret data, and multiple other stuff. There could be researchers who want to get into the qualitative part of the research, right? Where they'll be designing surveys, behavior, how to understand consumer behaviors through multiple ways, right? And there could be contextual inquiries, contextual walkthroughs, focus groups, cognitive walkthroughs, and multiple other stuff. So this is probably one area, like where you want to be a researcher and you want to pick up right from the beginning of your career that you've decided, I want to be a researcher and these are things I'd be doing. Now, there's another way, where what do you call it as T-shape. Now, you might be a little confused here because I have kept this as an inverted T-shape, right? Now, IDEA CEO Tom Brown formulated this concept many years back. A T-shape is someone who has probably received a cross-functional training in different areas. Like, as I said, while you are also a deep generalist, you're also a specialist. So you're combining all of this together to become an inverted T. Now, why inverted T? I'll come to that. So as I was saying, someone who has received cross training, and the horizontal refers to the wide range of skills, while the vertical refers to a single skill set that is mastered over time, right? Now it is said that now the next part of it, why it is an inverted T. So it is said that if your foundation is weak, right, if a building's foundation is weak, right, it will collapse, right? So similarly, anyone studying design should first learn the fundamentals of design, such as harmony, balance, alignment, proportions, white spacing, and then delve into a specialty. So the same is probably true for every subject you study, right? So I think building a solid foundation is first, and then you construct the floors on top of it. So everything which is built on solid foundation is something that never floats, right? It is always firmly grounded or strictly grounded to the base, isn't it? So that's why I've changed this. Instead of a T-shaped design, I prefer calling it as an inverted T. Now there are pros and cons, definitely. I think spending half of your life in either healthcare or finance domain may kind of make you a master in that, right? But if you want to keep moving in the same domain in your life, then you keep changing your career in a different direction, which means that you are wasting your experience. So let's say you spend 15 years in healthcare and now moving to another domain. Now it's very exciting to move into another domain, but the thing is, at the same time, you're also wasting that 15 years of career. You have learned anything, but in the new job, you're not applying it, right? Now, these are very debatable, conversations. I'm not getting into that, but what I'm saying is, a generalist can actually fit anywhere, right? Because the underlying design principles are very same. So he can probably fit in healthcare, he can fit in telecom, retail, and any other in a design industry. So that's the first tip. Decide first what you want to be. The second tip is about understanding the ecosystem. Now, what is an ecosystem? ecosystem is a community of living things, right? The living things is an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, interact with each other with a set of non-living things, right? And together, they all form a very complex relationship. Right? So one example of an ecosystem is a forest. As the picture shows, it's a forest. So every forest has a mix of living things like plants, animals, and sunlight, rocks, water, and a lot of other things. So the mix of living and non-living things in each forest is unique, right? And it's a very different from other ecosystem, right? So let's take the relationship between a sheep and a lion. So lion always eats the sheep for its survival, and that's how in this forest ecosystem it works, right? The big fish eats the small fish, isn't it? Now, the human body also is an ecosystem because there are hundreds of interconnected body parts which works together to keep us fit, healthy, and strong, isn't it? And similarly, there's something also called a digital ecosystem. In this digital ecosystem, there are people, products, technology, business, users, and multiple other stakeholders involved, right? So I would say you have to apply that system thinking approach where you get to see a larger view from the top, the 30,000 feet view, and how you probably see how the things are interconnected. That gives a better view of where you want to be. So imagine a modern banking application, right? Is one of the example of a digital ecosystem, right? So the ecosystem created through different apps like that integrate a service, an application, right? So it could be about how do you manage your expense, how do you manage your digital wallets, your online banking, and it can also give you access to a digital passport. So I would say designers in general, so this is again coming from my experience, designers in general are very short-sighted, and we spend most of the time busy in pushing pixels for screen. But design is beyond that, right? So before I start my design project, I try to understand the larger vision of the project from not just end user standpoint, but also from business standpoint. Why am I doing this, right? Or even if I do it, what problem it will potentially solve? And it is just not about moving a button here and there. There are underlying concepts, HCI concepts, right, which probably is missing in our current design. Probably the so if you talk about HCI concept, I can say that the button target is small, and that's why I actually make it big, or it is not placed in a prominent area. So that's why I'm changing it. So all these underlying concepts are very important to understand, right? So and then that really gives a very healthy picture of what is on your plate and what you intend to do. So especially when I have been designing for healthcare for some time, especially in healthcare, we have considered patient safety, accessibility, and efficiency are the three most guiding principles for design, right? So one thing definitely is it's not just about understanding your current ecosystem, but you also have to understand some similar ecosystem. So while I have been in healthcare for some time, it's easy to provide example from that same domain, definitely. So what I have been doing is to set a strategic vision for my team and to advance my career. I collect organizational insights from other healthcare companies, let's say Philips, GE, AstraZeneca, to learn more about their design philosophies. So Philips, for example, they focus on circular design philosophy. So now, what is circular design? How does it help? Will that circular design will be able to fit in my business goals, right, within my company? These are very critical knowledge, actually. Okay. Now, so other insights could be there are several healthcare companies who are investing in artificial intelligence and machine learning to develop preventive healthcare solutions, right? Now, for an example, while you are intercepting a doctor-patient conversation and with NLP, natural language processing, and you're trying to make sense of the data, which can further save doctors time and effort. So instead of spending time on computers, typing out prescriptions, a doctor can spend more time with the patient, which is definitely a doctor should do. But what I'm saying is all of these growing trends of artificial intelligence, machine learning, imply that designers should learn these fundamentals. So you should learn what is machine learning and what is artificial intelligence and how this whole gamut of things actually can fit into your overall design process. So that's about tip number 2, understand the ecosystem, right? If you have any question, you can always ping me. The tip number 3 is about building a growth mindset. Now, what is a fixed mindset and what is a growth mindset? So a fixed mindset means that you believe your intelligence, your talent, and other qualities, what you have, are unchangeable, right? Even if you're not good at something, you typically think that you'll never be good at it. So that's a mindset you have. But in contrast to that, a growth mindset means you believe intelligence and talent can be developed over a period of time through practice and effort, right? So not surprisingly, your mindset plays a major role. Your motivation plays a major role. So, and what you intend to achieve, right? Setting that goal for yourself, those things definitely matters a lot for you. So there are some attributes of a fixed mindset. So the first attribute is a fixed mindset always avoid challenges, right? And while as a growth mindset embrace challenges. So let's say you are probably in a very comfort zone and you don't intend to take up challenges. You always fear of failing. Even if I take new challenge in life, you always fear of failing. But where the growth mindset is like, I want to embrace that challenge and I want to fail. Even if I embrace that challenge and even if I fail, I'll have some learning behind it. So through this entire experience of attempting that challenge, even if I fail, I learn something. So that's the mindset of a person who has a growth mindset. The second thing is obstacles. So in a fixed mindset, people give up very easily, right? So imagine again, these are very interrelated. Now, one challenge, you might really feel, okay, let me attempt. But then when you get a little deep, you feel, I don't want to do this, right? So that's a person with fixed mindset would have. But similarly, for a person who is having a growth mindset, they persist even if there's a setback, right? So they want to overcome that obstacle in their life and they want to move further ahead. So that's one attribute, I would say, a growth mindset. There are others. Effort. Every effort I make, or most of the effort which I make, I see it very useless. Why do I need to put an effort, right? I can probably relax. It's not necessary. But a growth mindset might feel that every effort will lead you to a mastery of things, right? Whatever small things you're doing in your career, even if you are doing a small illustration work in your career or doing a small graphic design work in your initial days of your career, that will definitely help you learn a lot, and then it will take you lead to that mastery, right? So fixed mindset also ignore useful negative feedback. So if someone talks negative about that person, he or she will feel, oh, I cannot take it. I cannot accept negative feedback. But a growth mindset learn from criticism. It's important because every designer solves a problem in their own subjective way, right? And that's why design is a team sport, isn't it? And you also have to understand what is a objective or what is a problem you're trying to solve. Is my solution is very close to what is intended for the end users? So, and that will not happen immediately, but as and when your seniors, your peers review your design, they'll probably critique your design. And that critique sessions are very important because it will definitely help you refine your designs further, right? The last but not the least, and a fixed mindset feel very threatened by the success of others. So if someone in your organization might feel okay, uh, some new designers might join with more experience, they feel threatened because they feel their existence might, uh, it will be difficult for them to exist now because another person is joining in and who has more experience, or who is better than what you are doing, right? But if you're having a growth mindset, you probably find lessons and inspirations in the success of others. But because that's also learning, because once you step up as a design leader, it's not just about your success, it's about your team's success. So you have to push your team or someone from your team to reach to the next level. And if your team grows, naturally you'll also grow, right? So these are some of the attributes of fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I think I normally say you look through this and understand this more in detail and move towards. So even if someone is having the fixed mindset, I would say from fixed go, it's better to move towards a growth mindset. Okay, I'd go to the next tip. Understand the business challenge. Now, there are two major sectors, or say business sectors. We call it consumer, we call it enterprise, right? Now, consumer apps are born to improve humans' daily life on one or the other, right? And so let's say it's raining outside and you probably don't feel like cooking, and so you have a food ordering app, right? And food will be delivered at your home. So let's say you're bored. You want to play some games. You quickly download an app and start playing games. Similarly, if you're feeling if you want to relax with some playing some music, you can really quickly switch to your music app and start listening to music. So these are some of the examples I'm being of what consumer app looks like. So food ordering app, gaming apps, music apps, social media apps, Facebook, Insta. These are falling under the consumer take app, right? Meanwhile, enterprise apps are designed to achieve business goals rather than the need of an individual, right? So I'm creating a software for a large corporation. Right? So especially again, I'm taking example from healthcare industry. If I'm building a hospital management system, it is aimed for certain hospitals, right? And it is all about digitizing a business process, isn't it? So what the workflow which I used to do physically, I'll be doing through digital. So that's about it. Now, this is a very complex area, and there are very debatable areas. Now, what I feel, this is entirely my point of view. These are some of the attributes I would say in a consumer tech industry, or in a consumer tech design industry, I'd say. The workflows are very less complex, right? And you mostly focus on very fancy UIs. You come up with a lot of interactive animations, micro interactions, and stuff like that. And you can also share multiple common UI standards, right? Material design is mainly one of them. There are others as well. And these apps are something which are designed on the basis of the framework called jobs to be done framework, where the main intention is you are entering into an app to perform certain jobs. Not all of them, definitely. Especially Facebook and Insta, these are not designed on that model, because Facebook and Insta, they want you to get hooked into their application. That's a different design philosophy altogether. But mostly, most of the apps are done to base on the basis of jobs to be done, and these are mostly aimed at an individual, right? And so how do you grow this? You kind of focus on adopting, retention, and growth. So that's a strategy we always take. And it's task oriented, There's a design for delight. You can access this app anywhere. It's available in public domain, and this you can also make it personalized, and there are a lot of privacy aspects as well. Similarly, in the enterprise tech apps, the challenges are very different. So you normally have to deal with the very complex workflows and more standardized UI. You have to create a lot of robust design system for yourself. Right? And especially when I'm talking about healthcare industry, in my company, we have a robust design system, and we make our app look and feel consistent across the the products we deal with. So here in this case, users spend more time on app because these workflows are very complex, and they might need more time to complete a certain workflow. Here, it requires a lot of time to maintain, and sometimes the most important thing is you might have to listen to the whales. Now, who are these whales? These are the business stakeholders I'm talking about, because these apps are mostly driven by the business. What are the business goals we are trying to solve through this? And all of these apps are mostly legacy systems, right? Those are something which are probably built back in 90s, right? And we are slowly modernizing all of them. So it's a very slow change, and there are a lot of regulatory compliance, which also gets added to this entire process. So what I'm trying to say is, so if you're working in a consumer tech industry, and if you want to advance your design career, I think having a sense of all of this, what I've just talked about, would definitely help you jump quickly in your career ladder. Having a strong business sense, and the underlying business concepts of product monetization, go-to-market strategy, the different operational dynamics, and what competitive landscape you're operating. Let's say we always have a tug war between Zomato and Swiggy, right? Because they fight on the marketplace, right? And so all this understanding can help a designer become more valuable to the team, right? You probably understand your end user better every day. Now, this knowledge may definitely help you not just excel in your current career, but will also give an entirely different direction. So let's say there are many designers who might choose to take a career path as a product manager in the later stage of their career. So understanding all of this definitely helps you. On the other hand, in the enterprise sector, you probably can be a thought leader in very specific areas. It could be in the space of innovation, people, technology, to grow your career. Right? Now, while process optimization remains the key focus here, working on the team culture, and then creating a psychologically safe workplace, inclusiveness, making design practices collaborative in nature, and adding ethics in your design, and what are some of the ethical practices you do in your design organization, are some of the growing focus areas in an enterprise level environment. Now, if you have a solid understanding of all of this, right, and definitely you can take your career to the next level, right? And there's also a new role coming called business designer. The role of a business designer is to apply customer-centric design methods and tools to prototype, develop, and validate a new business model altogether, right? So business designers think that how every element of the business models affect the consumer and client experience. This is a very new thing coming up. I recently got to know, I think IDEO had a requirement of a senior business designer. I've never seen this requirement in the past, but this is also a new focus area which might pick up in the next few years. Okay, tip number 5. Get an experienced mentor. Now, I'd say during COVID, design mentorship definitely has taken a turn. But being an industry professional, I would say it's quite disheartening to see that even professionals who have just recently begun in their career in design, they're also offering mentorship. So I'd say Again, this is debatable. I'm not getting into the debate who should mentor, who should not mentor, but this is generally my opinion. So mentorship, in my opinion, is it's all about guiding someone to take the right step, right? It is about someone guiding someone with more experience, right? Assisting a less experienced designer. So guiding someone who is having more experience. I mean, what I'm trying to say is someone who is having more experience can guide a less experienced designer, right? And I would say an experienced mentor has spent a lot of years in the industry, and he has probably have a proven track record in dealing with various customer, uh, people, products, and technology. So an experienced mentor probably has experience dealing with difficult situations in their entire career journey. And this difficult situation can be anything. I mean, it could be how you defend your designs, how you convince a stakeholder, or how you solve a complex design challenge, right? Or maybe it could be also about how you build a design team from the ground up, right? So this person has gone a long way from creating beautiful user interfaces. I'm talking about my experience those days back in the past when I started my career. I used to design beautiful interfaces, right? But those are not meaningful interfaces. Those are not usable interfaces. So what I'm saying is this transformation, career journeys, what a experienced design mentor has gone through will never be found in any textbooks. So learning from these leaders definitely can boost confidence, your confidence, and empower the next generation of designers. That's my understanding. And so they can probably tackle similar situation effectively. And further, uh, uh, as a mentor, I would probably be able to encourage to grow their careers as designers. So that's tip number 5, and I have the last tip coming up. It's also about getting exposed to different industry verticals, right? Now, so this is again from my experience. I would say it's good to spend a few years in a service company when you're starting your design career. Getting an agency or a service company definitely helps because you have the experience, or you'll get the experience to work with different customer for different domains, and all this experience what you get in the initial years uh, will help you understand the length and breadth of what challenges a designer has to face through the entire design process. Sometimes it happens the requirements given by the customers are very vague in nature, and you typically interpret in a very different way. And sometimes customer tells you design, but there are no guidelines provided to us, right? But then how do you deal with the situation? How do you convince the stakeholders like, okay, I need a design system, or at least I need some design guidelines to start with, right? Now, this is basically, I would say, the route towards become a T-shape rather than inverted T-shape designer. Remember that horizontal bar in the T-shape? So it means that ability to collaborate with cross-functional disciplines with experts, right? Where you can grow, share, and learn. So this is a stage where you can call yourself a design generalist, especially back in the days when I was working in a IT service company. I was mostly a design generalist because I got to work on different industry verticals: banking, retail, healthcare, telecom, stuff like that. Right? And but then when I moved to different industry back in 2017, I moved to Sana. I'm very focused now. I'm pursuing healthcare as an industry vertical, which I probably pursue in the next few years, right? Until I intend to move in a different sector, right? So what I'm trying to say, this specialization definitely could help you understand better which verticals would suit best for you. Again, you're trying to design your life, or in a way, you're trying to design your career. Like if you're try to test different areas, and at the end of the day, you might feel, okay, this area might be interesting for me. Then you can probably jump into that area. And you can either choose to be a domain expert in that area, or you can either choose to get into a management career path, depending on your choice. And so that was the last tip. And last but not the least, I would say the most interesting tip is I think everybody saw this movie, Three Idiots. My favorite one is always strive for excellence, right? Now, if you always strive for excellence, success will automatically follow. So what I'm saying is don't run behind success. Achieve excellence first, and success will automatically come looking for you. So that was about it for today, and I would love to take any questions if you have any, or if you want to have an open forum with me. This is the time you can have this. But before you get into that, I just want to tell you one quick thing. We are organizing a virtual design UX conference that is on 10th December and 11th December. You can probably get to this website, Design Shorts. I'll just give you a background how it happened. A small 2-minute story I want to share here is back in somewhere in 2019, when you're physically working at office, we used to celebrate World Usability Day, right? So even in Cerner, our UX team used to celebrate this, and we organized some poster competition on that very day, I remember, and plus there's some talks which had happened. That was back in 2019. I'm talking about. But then when this pandemic started, we started we started becoming virtual. Then it was definitely a challenge for all of us to bring people together and create something very unique on that very day, right? So what we did last year is we thought, okay, let's create a conference outside the company, right? And that's how our forum got started. So last year, it was in the name of Cause X, where we did a small one-day conference. That is not even one day, half-day conference, where there's some speakers from Google and then a few others, Gojek and stuff like that. And there's some 50 plus participants who attended those design sessions. This year we have we're trying to make it a little big. We have launched our one website, designshorts.com, and we're able to get a lot of good speakers in the lineup. We have Mayur Chaudhary, he's a VP of design from Myntra. We have Sudhendra B from IBM. We have Alok, again, he's a design director at Vedantu. And plus, we have a workshop. Karan Kapoor, the Figma advocate, he's launching a workshop, 1-hour workshop. So if you're interested to learn Figma, this is the time. But you have to book tickets for this because all the conference proceedings are going to be donated to Help Age India. And that's our intent. We want to help the society by donating some amount to those needy people. And so that's the intent. So if you're interested, go to the website and try to book your tickets as early as possible. Guys, okay. So back to the questions. Tushar, any questions you have got, or if you want to have an open forum, that's also fine.
Yeah, definitely. So I think session was very interesting, and I think there are a lot of already you have answered so many questions here, but definitely that will also trigger new questions.
Definitely.
So I hope there will be some questions, and also I have some questions for you. So let's see. See if you have any question, please put those questions in the chat box so we can take one by one questions. Yeah. So let me ask first question. So maybe that will trigger the ball will be rolled here. So as said correctly, Alip, there are 3 aspects of design as a horizontal, vertical, and inverted T-shape. So, but nowadays, we saw as a trend, people from non-design backgrounds or people, because there is always now, we see last 5 or 6 years, we see a boom, or I could say hype about everybody's talking about UX. Okay. I know nobody knows exactly what is UX, but still every company want the UX professionals. And so That's why there are non-designing professionals and who want to make career into this field. So, so what will be your advice for those people, because see, the when trained designer is there, so they know at least some kind of a concepts about designs. Uh, but the people who from non-designer, so how they get trained themselves. So you can put some light on that. So that will be good.
Great, a great question, Tushar. So I have a very different perspective. So I'd always encourage them to join UX industry because, as I said, design is not just about pushing pixels in screen. Design is an ecosystem, right? You are basically solving problems. So an engineering might attack a problem in a very different way. A designer might attack a problem in a very different way. A doctor might attack a problem in a different way. Maybe it could be the same problem, but their perspectives are very different. So what we do with healthcare is we always invite doctors. When you're designing a certain workflow, we invite doctors to make them, to give them a walkthrough, whether that workflow actually is making sense to them, right? Because they give a lot of insights. They might feel, okay, no, can you merge these two things together? Or do you think this is redundant for me? I don't need this information at all. Why you're giving this information, right? So what I'm saying is, I would always welcome these people, who are intent to take off a kid in design. But also at the same time, what I'm saying is, having some knowledge, basic knowledge about the design process is very important because when you're stepping into organization, organization have a fixed set of process in place. Now it could be there are different processes, design process we normally adapt to, right? Now if we are well aware of the process, it's fine. But if you're not well aware of the process, I think it's better to take up some kind of design education. It could be either in the form of a boot camp or any kind of certification that would definitely help you. Otherwise, what happens is once you come land into the organization, you probably don't know how do I start. So
Right.
starting problem would be a major challenge. Otherwise, you are always welcome to be a part of the industry. And I would respect that. So that's my answer.
Great. I think similar question as Ranjita has asked. The, she is not from a UX field, so what will be the future for her? So
Which question you're talking about?
I think Ranjita has asked question.
Okay.
I'm not
not from the design background, and what will be my future in UI UX field? It's very difficult to say, Ranjit, actually, at this point of time, because I don't know how much passionate you are to take up design as a career. Because what happens is, uh, I want to share a classic example. A person in my design team who has completed chartered accountancy. She was a chartered accountant actually. From there, after completing chartered accountancy, she moved to design, and she completed some course in some design education, and then she moved to design. Now the thing is, if you are very passionate about taking up a career in design, nobody can stop you. But if you are coming into the design sector only to feel that okay, design is like a very overhyped profession, or where I can earn a lot of money, I can get a lot of focus, I can move up in my career ladder very fast. If you have that intent, then I would say a different career option is better. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to discourage you here. What I'm trying to say is passion is very important. So everything is driven by passion, right? So if you're interested in certain things, definitely you will succeed in that thing, right? So that's my short answer.
right. Great. Uh, yeah, there are a few questions are now popping up.
Yeah.
Say, I think Harshada is asking, thanks for giving knowledge. What about freshers in the UX where and opportunity for the career? Because every company and industry wants the experience UX and UI. So
Yeah, so Harshada, I would slightly disagree to this because even we as a company, we give chances to people who are, who are very fresh or new in the industry. Now, one way definitely is to get an internship in any organization, right? And there are a lot these days. If you go through LinkedIn, if you're very active in LinkedIn, I would say you start following those threads where you'll find that many organizations are actually offering design internships. So you should apply there. Now, so even I would say the competition is there also as well, because even if you're an intern, you are expected to know fundamentals of design. You expected to have a portfolio, and you're expected to walk them through certain design process standards, stuff like that. Now the thing is, each and every day the competition is increasing, right? And really, to overcome that competition and to be at par with that, I would say uh, you also always be one step ahead of the competition. That's what I would say. So if you are really want to take up career in design, start building your design portfolio. Start talking to people. Start getting an understanding of design process, and get a lot of review. If you are doing any kind of projects, any kind of dummy projects, or any kind of uh, uh, any kind of projects, what you feel that would be valuable for you or for the society. Let's say you're picking up a social problem. Let's say you want to do project like I want to stop plastic usage. That's a social problem, right? You can even try that. And but what you need to do is you need to build a strong portfolio and try to tell that, okay, this was the problem. I have analyzed this, that 70%, 80% of the people are using plastics in India, and this is affecting a lot of environmental issues. So I want to solve this problem. So build a story, and portfolio is very important these days. I mean, this is something which never used to exist in my days. I was never even asked for design portfolios, but even if I appear for any interviews or any kind of things these days, I'm not talking about myself. My peers, I've seen them. They always get a portfolio reviewed through me. So these are very important aspects. Yeah,
Right.
that is my short answer. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So I think Saili is asking, she is from a digital marketing domain. So how can I use that knowledge into a UX field?
Okay. Shaili, I actually don't understand this digital market domain. I have very limited knowledge in this. What I can definitely say is, if you want to take up a career in UX, because UX is a diversified field, I am assuming that knowledge, whatever you have done in the digital marketing space, definitely would guide your career, right? To take up the right step. So I think, especially in the digital marketing space, it's more about you know uh, letting people know that what your company is doing and what are the service you're offering. So that's my I'm making some judgment here, making some assumptions here. I don't know much about it, but I'm hoping this that experience definitely might help you to go as a designer, because we we designers come from a very different diverse background. As I said, engineers have a different mindset, doctors have a different mindset, carpenter might have a different mindset, but each one of them can solve problems.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the answer.
Yeah. I think marketing experience will definitely know the business side. So that will
Correct.
Yes. Amol has one interesting question. So in the future, how the augmented reality or virtual reality is also helping the healthcare. So we want to know how the new technology will helpful for.
Okay, Amol, thanks for the question. This is a nice question, actually. I just want to ask you something. Have you seen Good Doctor in Netflix? If you have not, I think you should start watching that. So you'll get the answer through that web series, right? So what they have shown is before you actually go to an operation theater, a doctor goes to an operation theater, he practices that operation virtually and through digital technologies. So digital technology has gone that far where you are practicing your skills before performing a surgery. You're practicing the surgery multiple times, and then only you land up getting into the surgery room, right? So I would definitely ask you to go through this web series. It's called Good Doctor. It's available in Netflix, and it's a nice one. So we probably have a lot of answers to your question. But also, I'd say augmented reality, virtual reality, definitely is have a great opportunity, especially in the healthcare industry for the future. And we also at Sana are doing a lot of things in that space.
Yes, I think.
Thank you, sir.
So that is a futuristic we are talking.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So we have one question from Saran. So he's asking, so in case of single designer in the organization, how to know if I'm advancing my skills and I get the feedback?
Yeah, this is a problem actually. I would say, Sayan. I mean, there's no right solution to this because what you can do probably is you can keep learning or uh, you know uh, uh, you can probably keep upgrading your skills. That is definitely one way. But the other thing is you are not sure like whether whatever skills you are upgrading to and you're trying to applying it into your design, are you applying it rightly or you are missing out something. And that's when a mentor come in picture, right? What you can essentially do is I know there are a lot of ND agreements which happens within the company. You cannot share projects, but what you can essentially do, you can go to different forums these days. There's ADP list. There is a lot of other different forums, right? Where even Tushar's UX training, UX talk also have a mentorship forum where you can really talk to your mentor. Again, get an experienced mentor because that's very important. And you just try to get an understanding whether you are on the right track or whatever learnings you're applying into design, are you doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So mentorship definitely will help you guide to make your advance your design career, I'd say. So look for a good mentor and try to patch up him or her with him and try to regularly connect with that person and get all your questions sorted out.
Thanks. I think so. Before we wrap up, I have one last question.
Sure.
So now, first question I ask about how where the people will start career. Now, see during entire even in my career also, I have seen people. Not typically we call them as a career mid-age crisis or career crisis. So in designing team, we see such people very huge number because they're working in one company, everything is happy go is going on, and they are doing as a graphic designer or some HTML designing. As you correctly mentioned, the two sides of the fixed growth and growing fixed mindset and growth mind. So now, if such kind of a person who's basically a designer and now he's stuck up with that fixed mindset, okay, and for him to switch career, I think that will be a more challenge for him because the young guy who can adopt new things very fastly and they can learn things very quickly because they are in the competitive spirit, they have young, they have energy, so they can do comparatively. I think the middle age crisis people will have bigger issues with that. So so how to know how to solve that thing or what we guide you to the.
Yeah, Tushar, this is a great question. I mean, this is a great perspective. I would say we have brought up in this forum. Now the thing is, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I would say there's no definite answer to this because it's all about that individual who is driving his career. even, I would say I have also faced that challenge. I faced that midlife, career challenge. In fact, I'm facing it now. But what the thing is, I'm always driven by passion. Okay. Even at this age, I do a lot of things. I manage a team of 20 designers in my team. I have to manage their designs. I have to build strategies for my team. I have to look for people. I have to do their. It's a quite a day long job where I get tired. At the end of the day, I don't have much to do. I don't have any energy to do. But still, I pick up things like this is one thing. Spending a weekend talking to different people and building a community like Design Shots is one of them, and uh, uh, doing a conference like this, and plus I also mentor in ADP List and different other forums. Rethinking UX is one of them, and so what I'm saying is, don't let your passion get killed at some part of the career. So only the passion can drive you, and passion can take you to the next level. So the moment you lose this passion, you are dead. Your career also will die.
Right.
So and also one thing which I say is, if you love doing something, you never feel burdened, right? So start loving what you do. So if you want to make a career in design, you should first love designing. So if you feel that no, design is something I want to take up that career because I want to earn a lot of money, then I would say there are other ways to do it. But if you really want to solve problems, if you really want to leave a mark in the industry, then only I would say join the design industry. So to coming to that question, I think I am very passionate about doing things. I'm still doing a lot of work outside my organization. I'm doing a lot of conference talk. I also work in research. I wrote few research papers, and I also collaborated, people across the design community on different areas. So I think the only thing I would say, keep your passion always up, and that will definitely help you to.
That is great advice also. I think Madhura has raised her hand. So
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
Madhura, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, sir, I would like to ask, like, I am kind of a beginner in UX. So while practicing UX, many times the things happens is like while reading some UX material, I feel like, no, I should practice UX tools. Then while doing that, also feels like I should work on understanding the theory part, and like this ends up with doing nothing or with an incomplete task and various ups and downs. So can you guide over this, or what are the right steps you would suggest to become a good UX practitioner?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Now, so I would say there are two parts. One is the theoretical part of UX, one is the tools part, where you apply your theory and you, while designing certain screens, you use that tools. And while designing certain screens, you apply the theory, what you've learned, right? So there's a mix of both, actually. But the thing is, tools are not very important in design. So don't go for tools. Now there are people who might say, okay, you learn Figma, you learn Sketch, you learn this, you learn that, you learn XD, but that will never take you anywhere, right? So what I would suggest you, and this is entirely my opinion. So focus on uh, on on uh, the design process, right? What is a design process you're going to apply while solving a problem? And focus on that. Understand the core human computer interaction concepts, right? What are the different HCI concept you can apply into your design, right? Understand what is cognitive psychology. Understand what are the different behavioral theories, right? So understand what is emotional design. So if you understand all of this, you can probably converge to a point and you'll probably apply all of this while designing a screen. Tool is just an enabler for you. You can probably do a paper prototype and you can convey your thoughts using it through a paper prototype. So tools are not very important in that. I would say rather focus on the theoretical part, and then probably you learn just one tool is enough. Even if you learn Axure, or if you learn Balsamiq, or you learn Sketch, one tool is enough, and that's it. I hope I was able to answer.
Yes. Yes, sir. But actually, many times in interviews, they judge from the portfolio concept. No. So at that time, they ask for the various tools. So I asked this part.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. I would say that's not the right way to do interviews. So probably I would say you can avoid those companies where you have been asked this kind of questions. And that's my short answer to you.
Yeah. I think this
yes,
is
thank you so much, sir.
I think this is a major problem nowadays, because of recruiters also, they don't know UX and they just put JDs. Because now recently one of guys shared with me they want UX developers. So I asked them, what kind of a development you want from UX? That they are not a developers. So this happens, right? I think slowly industry will change. They will understand what is UX, and slowly things will be changed.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think let's wrap up today. Thanks, Alipta. I think it was always pleasure with discussing with you, and hopefully in future we will collaborate as we discussing yesterday. So let's see. And I'm just for Design Shorts, all the best, and please all go to the Design Shorts website. Just see there are very interesting speakers are there. And also the cause this entire team is working for for charity, so that was also great cause. So if you are registered for that, and definitely get a knowledge also, that is very important. So anyways, thanks everybody for this. I think quite interactive session today we had. Hope if you have some any questions, please you can use our UX Talk on the LinkedIn page or somewhere, and I think we try to answer those things. So now next UX Talk, we have another very interesting speaker. Is a John. He's a author of one very interesting book. So let's meet at the next UX Talk, and hopefully we can bring more interesting topics and discussions regards to design. And once again, I will thanks from all of you, Alipta, for your great time. And soon I'm in Bangalore, so we personally will definitely meet.
Thank you. Definitely. Looking forward to it. Definitely.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank you so much.